Call the roll.
Baronis. Bolin.
Present.
Gathing.
Present.
Lopez.
Present.
Verret.
Present.
Williams. Yancey Smith.
Present.
Okay, we have 5 present. That's a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, a little bit feeling like Groundhog Day, but we will go through the understanding again as to why we're here. Just a brief introduction as to why we're here. During the course of this year, we have attempted to find ways to cut the expenditure of funds now and in the future in order to have a balanced budget and, more importantly, to maintain or increase fund balances to our standards and to the standards of the state. In the course of doing that, one of the issues that was dealt with was the fact that we had more classrooms than are needed and the possibility of saving money by closing one or more buildings. A year ago, we had coincidentally requested our architects to conduct a study of all of our buildings for the purposes of life safety evaluations, and ultimately to determine what costs of maintenance needed would apply to each of the buildings and where the buildings were deficient. In the course of that study, it was disclosed that Edison had a substantial structural issue in that it was sinking and in one portion of the addition to Edison, and was going to cost substantial money in order to correct that problem. So, using the fact that we felt we could close a building and that Edison was the most costly to maintain, or would be the most costly to maintain, we've started the process of closing, of meeting the statute and the law that requires us to hold hearings and decide if closing Edison is the best idea. In the meantime, on December 29th, we learned from our engineers we requested to follow up the study from the architect that in their opinion that building was no longer safe for students and staff to be present for, and that was a condition that had changed rapidly from the study that had been done in October. Whether it was caused by a windstorm or some other condition, we don't know. But what we do know is that it's deemed no longer safe by the architects to conduct school in that building. So that caused an emergency meeting in during the Christmas break, and central office and staff have been working very hard to find how we could empty that building on a temporary basis, and then we'll make the decision as to whether to close the building ultimately. And that brings us to why we're here. We're here because the statute requires 3 hearings. This is the 3rd of 3 hearings, and following this, it will be on the agenda for next Monday's board meeting as to whether to accept the recommendation of the administration to permanently close the building at the end of the school year. Having said that, now I will pass to Dr. Lance for additional information to be provided to the public.
I'm going to pass the baton to Mr. Neal, who will start us off.
All the baton passing again. So,
Yes, sir.
so it kind of reminds me of teaching high school. I teach the same class 5 periods a day. By the end, I'm getting pretty good at it.
There you go.
So, anyway, Mr. Bolin pretty well spelled out the process very nicely, so I don't need to get into all of the preliminaries here. We'll just get right into the issues with Edison, and that was what led us to the point where we decided not only was that the building that probably should be closed at the end of the year, but that we needed to accelerate that decision. So the building was built in two parts. The first part was in 1955, and that's the part that faces Maple. In 1958, an addition was added on, and it's that 1958 addition where the problems have been. Basically, all of these things on this list that I won't read through, but all of these things have been kind of noticed in pieces and varying degrees throughout the last couple of years, and it really seems to have picked up pace a little bit this year. And one of the concerns was that things had even progressed from May to November when we looked at this again. So we asked for another engineering consultation to take place, and that was what led us to the engineering report that we are talking about. So just by way of what's going on, anybody who wants to can go take a look at that south end of the building and see the big cracks in the wall. And the closer you are to them, the more nasty they kind of look. But the long and short of it is what you have is that west and south wall is starting to separate from the building and is separating from the roof structure. And that process is continuous. It hasn't stopped. It wasn't a one-time thing. So right now, based on that picture on the right, you're looking at about 1.5 inches of gap in that crack, which means that that wall has moved by at least that much over the past few months. As we kind of continue looking at the outside of the building, you have some separation. This is on the west side, that southwest corner, and you can see one of the roof beams is separating from that pier there on that corner. So again, not necessarily falling down, but we don't want those to move. That's bad to have that move. On the right-hand side picture, you can see where a level, I believe is a 4-foot level, was placed against the wall, and the bubble is in the center of the level, so the level is correct, but the wall is not flush against it. And so that's, obviously, even though you might not be able to see it with the naked eye looking at it, you can tell that this is, it is leaning quite a bit. Inside the building, there's two things that really worried us, and this one is in that southwest classroom, room 119, and that is the gap in the ceiling. And above that ceiling are the trusses that hold the roof and the ceiling in place. There's about a 4-inch overhang onto that concrete wall. And as we said, that's about 1.5 inches plus being pulled off. So that means you only have about 2 to 2.5 inches of that truss hanging onto that wall. So if that continues, we could potentially have a roof collapse, and that is something we cannot risk by having people in the building. Underneath, on the far right picture, you can see also, because of the settlement of the soil around the building, as the foundation has settled, some of those foundation bricks up against the floor have begun to crumble or have even fallen away. And so what that has resulted in is the floor is starting to slant downwards, and as we pointed out, if you did put ball in the middle of the room, it would roll to that outside wall without being pushed. It would just go. So, and you can actually feel it if you walk across the room. You can kind of feel yourself going down toward that window. So with all of that in mind, originally we had been talking about Edison being the building that we would recommend closure. And if you look at the orange lines, that third one is Edison's cost, and this is just for infrastructure. This is for mechanicals, this is for electricity, this is for water. This keeps the roof on, keeps the building dry, keeps the temperature comfortable. That's it. There's no new floor tile, there's no painting, there's no new equipment, nothing. Renovations would be on top of this. So you're looking at, for Edison itself, about 6.5 million, give or take, just to get those pieces in order before you could even start talking about the things to bring it up to contemporary educational standard. So that was the biggest reason we had looked at Edison. Now when we have the dangerous piece to it and the expensive cost to repair that to where it would not be dangerous, it just made sense and kind of accelerated that decision. So with all of that in mind, We originally felt, when we were talking about this at our first hearing, that the building was safe to continue for the year, but we do not believe that at this time, and so we have moved everyone out. I don't need to talk about the closure process because Mr. Bolin has already covered that, so that brings me to the end of my presentation, and if there's no questions for me, a baton passed back to the superintendent.
Does the board have any questions of? Okay, you can pass the baton back then.
Quickly. Okay, so once we learned that we needed to relocate our staff and students, what this screen shares with you is how and where we relocated everyone. So at Edison, we had 3 classrooms for K-1-2, so 3 total classrooms were moved to Steuben, kinder, first, and second grade. And then we have 4 third-grade classrooms. At Edison, we move all third graders to Kennedy. We also I'm moving down to the 4th row. We moved the living and learning classroom from Edison to Mark Twain. And the reason we were able to move them to Mark Twain is because if you go back up to the 3rd row, we were able to move 1 pre-K classroom out of Mark Twain and then 2 pre-K classrooms out of Steuben. Those 3 pre-K classrooms were relocated to Progler, which houses all of our early childhood classrooms. With a resource and instructional sped classroom that was moved to Steuben. We have an ESL teacher. That teacher now splits her time between, will split her time between Kennedy and Steuben. And then we have an SEL teacher. She will split her time between Kennedy and Steuben. In food and nutrition services, we had 3 workers. 2 of them will go to Kennedy, and 1 is currently supporting the junior high school. We have 2 maintenance staff members at Edison. 1 will go full-time to Kennedy, and then the night custodian will support at Steuben. And then depending on the other facility needs, that individual will more than likely support Kennedy or some other location under the direction of Mr. Draper and Mr. Harold. Or Kendall, thank you. So just some additional information. We have our Edison students currently on remote learning. The reason we have them on remote learning is so that our transportation department, under the leadership of Mr. Tudor and Ms. Karen, we are rerouting students, and I was told today that they are done. Thank you. In addition to that, we also have sit and stay or bag breakfast and lunches. So even though our students are on remote learning, we also wanted to make sure that we provided meals for all of our students. And if our families wanted to sit and stay with their students, they had the opportunity to do so. So breakfast is 7:45 to 8:30 a.m. and lunch is 12:15 to 1:30 p.m. And it is my understanding that we have had no students. We had 1 today. We have 1 student today for lunch. Well, yay. So keep on coming. We got breakfast and lunch for you. Our special students, so in the past when we had to close temporarily LCC and King when the boiler went down, our students our specials teachers were pushed into classrooms. I'm happy to say, under the direction and leadership of Jenny Way and Dr. Gilbert and Crystal Clifton, that will not be the case. So all of our students at Edison now move to Steuben, Kennedy, and Mark Twain. They will still receive specials. So whether it's music, PE, art, they will still receive all of their specials. We had 2 foster grandparents. 1 will go to Kennedy and 1 will go to Steuben. Our administrative support, we had a part-time assistant principal, Tracy Steele. She will now support Kennedy full-time and continue to facilitate IEP meetings for Edison students. And then the principal, Cal Kuster, who's in the audience, he will split his time between Kennedy 3 days and 2 days at 2 days at Steuben and Mark Twain as needed. Technology relocation, as of yesterday, all BenQs, were delivered and mounted, and I believe that they are now hooked up and ready to go. I'm getting a thumbs up. Fantastic. So technology is good. The phone numbers, those are done from my understanding. Thank you for the thumbs up. So the Edison phone numbers have also been transferred over to Kennedy and Steuben, which is excellent, because Lori Davis, the secretary, she is also going to split her time between Kennedy and Steuben. The majority of her time will be at Steuben. It's also important to note that all of next week, because that's where our babies will be, K through 2, Miss Lori Davis, the secretary, will spend all of next week at Steuben, and that is a change from our last presentation. I don't need to go through the communication rollout. This is our third time. Feels like Groundhog's Day. This will be our final presentation before Monday's board meeting, where we ask them to vote on our, take action on our recommendation. But again, our students are on remote learning. So students who are on remote learning, if our parents are watching, you are back in school on Monday. Yes, you are back in school on Monday, and our teachers are so excited. They can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you. So remote learning for one more day, and then you're back in school on Monday. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact us by scanning this QR code. We know that we had over 100 families watching online yesterday evening, and so we anticipate more families watching us. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This QR code will take you directly to our Let's Talk platform, and our goal is to be responsive within 24 to 48 hours, and that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lance. Any questions, comments from any of the board members? Thank you for all being here, because we had to have you here in order to have a quorum to conduct this last meeting and comply with the statute. I want to, in addition to thanking the board, on behalf of the board, I want to, again, under the theory that you can never say thank you enough, want to thank the central office, Dr. Lance, and your cohorts for all of the work that you started on December 29th that is now in place. And that's a huge accomplishment. You could only do that, though, with the help of the administrators, and Mr. Kuster, and the rest of the principals and the staff. And they have contributed mightily to the success of this transition. And thank you. And thanks to the parents who have been involved and engaged and asked questions and essentially had to deal with this in a first-person sort of way. We look forward to your children being back in the schools on Monday, and that the rest of the school year can be as normalized as we can make it. Maintenance staff that was involved in all the moves, and transportation, involved in rerouting the kids, tech and getting everything set up, student workers and volunteers. It's all, it takes all of you, and it successfully has involved all of you. And well, this is never where we intended to be when we started this process. This is where we are. And hopefully the rest of the year will be uneventful, and the kids can progress as we hope that they can do. Having said that, though, if there's no other, what? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say we have an open house tonight at Kennedy and Steuben. So for our Edison families, if you would like to visit and tour those two buildings and meet, I'm not going to say meet the principal, because you know the principal, but if you would like to meet the additional administrative team at those sites, that open house is taking place 5:30 to 6:30 this evening, so it's not too late to head on over. We look forward to seeing you.
I did not ask for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that has any public comment? I don't see anybody moving towards the microphone. So with that in mind, is there any board member that has anything else you'd like to add or say? No questions? With that in mind, then we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Gaving, Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We